It's Cardboard Time, episode number 58, and I'm your host, Arwen Kathke. Well, a very happy Valentine's Day to those who celebrate, and I hope that you get to spend some time with your loved ones today, whether they be family or your significant other or your friends. Just take some time out of your day to spend it with the ones that you love. On today's short episode, I'm going to discuss Astra, as well as give you some brief updates on what's been going on lately, and that includes a Shelf of Shame update. My Shelf of Shame is at 142. That is down by 1 since the last time that we talked. 6 new games acquired, including Dreams of Tomorrow and Dreams of Yesterday by Weird Giraffe. Those were courtesy of them. And I also got Broken and Beautiful, which was a Kickstarter. Rolling Heights was a Kickstarter. Birds of a Feather was a Kickstarter, so tons of Kickstarter content coming in. And then finally, Astra, and I will be talking about that very, very shortly. So 7 games played. I did play Astra, Dreams of Tomorrow and Dreams of Yesterday. Blazon, I did get to play solo. New York Pizza Delivery, Birds of a Feather, and Blood on the Clock Tower I got to play with Ray, and I've got some thoughts. I do need to play this a little bit more. I was very, very confused by it, but at the same time, I had a great time. We did play with some people that were a little bit more familiar with it than we were. And the 3 kind of newbies to the table were just kind of wondering what the heck was going on with this game. But by the end of it, we played 2 rounds of it and had a really good time. So I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more, maybe running my own game and see how that goes. So again, I will have some thoughts on that at some point, but not right now. I still have to process everything. Well, let's talk about Astra for a little bit. And Astra is from 2022, designed by Patrick Porkolov, Frigyes Shorbel, Esther Christina Sass. The art is by Celia Faquette and published by Mind Clash Games. Now, in Astra, you and your fellow players are eager and curious astronomers determined to explore and understand the constellations of the mysterious night sky. You are willing to assist each other and share your discoveries, but in the end, only one of you will become famous enough to be remembered throughout history. Astra is a clever mix of tactics and strategy with a streamlined and intuitive rule set that makes it easy to pick up and quick to play. A game of Astra consists of continuous player turns until a certain number of constellation cards are taken, when, after an endgame scoring, the player with the most fame points wins. On your player turn, you may choose to either observe or rest. The observe action allows you to spend Stardust to discover stars on the constellation cards using your dry erase marker. You may only mark stars in a straight, continuous line, but you may spend telescope tokens to start new observations. As soon as you mark the last star in a constellation, you take the card from the night sky, granting you a powerful, reusable ability for the rest of the game. But other players also benefit from the discovery. Based on how many stars they've marked, they may choose one of the card's instant benefits, which are called boons, at the time it's discovered. The rest action allows you not only to refill your Stardust up to your capacity, but also to reactivate all of your card abilities that match the currently active sphere. Your card abilities are very powerful and strategy enabling, so a well-timed rest action can give you a huge advantage. So this game I actually picked up at Recess Games. I did receive a $10 discount after attending Protospiel Cleveland. So the admission was $15, and we did get 10 of that back in store credit. So this was one that I kind of had my eye on for a while. I've been getting into Mind Clash games more recently, definitely with Septima on the horizon. And that reminds me, for later on in the show, spoilers, I do kind of have to change my address on that Pledge Manager. So glad that I remembered that. But this was a absolutely gorgeous presentation, and it really did appeal to me picking it up. It seemed like something that I was going to be able to get to the table with multiple different people, and that's why I really kind of gravitated towards that. I looked at a number of games. Hickory Dickory was one of the the ones that I kind of had in my hands for a while. Then I had one of the expansions for Too Many Bones, but I didn't know if I already had that, such as the common gamer's dilemma when you have a collection like mine. So I just decided to pick this up. It's been on kind of my wish list for a while, and decided to grab it. So the only thing, as this was a Mind Clash game, they're kind of notorious for their heavier games. And I was kind of worried that it was going to be a little bit too heavy for Allie, but I also thought that the theme might draw her in a bit. And, I did feel that at the end of the day, this sat at a nice medium weight. Not a terrible teach. Really, a few main points that you really want to get across to your players, and then after that, it's pretty decent to sit down and play with everybody. I did like the balance quite a bit between deciding whether you wanted the card for its power and potential endgame scoring, or whether you just wanted to take the boon for having some markings on the card. That was a nice decision space. That said, oftentimes I did feel like the immediate boon on the card was a little bit better than the power and potential endgame scoring potential for sets of different and similar cards that you could get. So I did feel like oftentimes that immediate boon, unless you were really going to use that power, or it was one of the cards that you were kind of missing to get your set, I felt like just getting the boon was a little bit better. I also did feel like the game went a little bit long. And I played this at 2 and 3. 2 was definitely okay. It was fine. 3 was better, and probably ideal, just due to the interaction that you're having with the other players. You're getting a different feel that it brings without adding length to the game. With 2 players, you do have this kind of artificial phase that you go that kind of acts like a third player, which after about the first third of the game, we had pretty much figured out pretty easily and quickly after our turns which card it was going to mark, how it was going to mark it, that kind of stuff. So we kind of figured that out pretty quickly. It wasn't hard to manage at all. But I did enjoy the third player being in there and actually doing some stuff. I felt like it just added a little extra dimension to things. I did have some issues telling between the green and orange markings on the board. It is avoidable until you get to the higher player counts, especially in low light. You're going to have a hard time kind of seeing those different markings. This is a game that if you do have any color vision issues, you're definitely going to want to play it with an ample amount of light. And I found that even with other players, they were having some difficulty trying to figure out exactly who had marked what. If we couldn't remember, if it had been a number of turns since we marked everything, counting everything up when it came to scoring one of the constellations. So The green marker was also tough to erase without moving towards wet erase methods. The rest were absolutely fine, easy enough to get off of the card from what we saw, but the green marker was just kind of notoriously tough for getting off of the card itself. So, that kind of said, this was a very chill game. I'm glad that I made the decision to pick this up over something heavier or something a little bit more intense. This is exactly what I needed after a lot of stress in the past 2 weeks, which we're going to get into in a couple of minutes. Why everything's been kind of stressful lately. But it was nice to come down from that a little bit using this game as a backdrop, and really did the job when it came to that. So if you are looking for something that's a little less stressful, a little bit more chill, I feel like this game can fit that bill quite well. I felt that this game was fine for my final judgment. Again, I like the tension. I like the balance between figuring out what you want to do with marking your cards, where you want to place everything, your timing on using your abilities, when you want to rest, when you want to refresh. All of that kind of made a nice, interesting decision space. That said, I did feel like the end game scoring engine was a little bit weak. The game was a little bit long, even at a small player count. I would have liked it to maybe stop a little bit before it did. But it is a beautifully made game with a very attractive palette. I did like some of the engine building concepts in it, and just kind of, do I go and just mark cards, or do I work on building up my engine? Do I want to just work on scoring points? All those decisions were very fun, and I like that space. I don't regret buying it for $25 at all, but I don't know if I would have paid much more than that to bring it into my collection. I think the MSRP is $35, which is still fair for the components that you're getting in it. I just don't know if it was a $35 value game for the gameplay that I was getting off of it. Certainly, I have paid more for games that I have played less than this. But, just from a value standpoint, I'm not exactly sure where that lies above that $25 price point that I paid for it. So if you can find it on sale, I would definitely recommend picking this up at MSRP. I would see if a friend had it first and see if it was kind of your jam. So that was Astra. And in some other news that I promised, again, this is going to be a short episode, just very, very busy lately with a couple of different things. And I did want to start with something that might be interesting to all of you, because this is kind of where you get involved and it's a little bit interactive. So I am moving. It's official. I am clear to close on the new house, and I'm moving a little bit closer to Cleveland. I wanted to be closer to where most everything in my life is going on. A lot of activity up in Cleveland. It's where, we find ourselves most weekends doing things. So we did want to be a little bit closer. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt to have to drive like an hour to and from a show when we wanted to go do that. Or, I do a lot of volunteerism in the area. So from that standpoint, I wanted to be closer to some of those volunteer opportunities and activities. And then obviously be closer to friends. We have a lot of board gaming friends up in that area. We have a couple that we will be missing down here, but hopefully they'll come up and join us every once in a while in our new space. And, I wanted to be in a more welcoming space in general. Not that my immediate neighborhood has been bad, but there are, some issues in the communities that are close by, being welcoming, accepting, etc. So, you kind of take those things into consideration when you're going into a new neighborhood, and you're kind of looking at those new spaces and saying, these are my new considerations. Obviously, I had a different mindset way back when in 2016 when I bought this property. And, now things are a lot different. I have a much different life, and it's kind of time to move on, as much as I'm going to miss the gaming space downstairs. So that all said, I do have a contest in celebration of this news that everybody is welcome to participate in. So Chip Theory Games has provided me with a lot of bags to move my stuff. And I do mean a lot of bags. I asked for a few. I was sent quite a few, which has been a blessing. Just from a logistics standpoint, it's really enabled me to move quite a bit. And kind of swap those bags out and keep them rotating. They hold a lot, but I also have a ton of games to move, so that's been really good and very helpful. So thank you to Chip Theory Games for providing those. It has been an absolute blessing to have those here. I don't know what I would have done without them. So I am moving my entire collection using them. That said, this is where you come in. If you can be the closest person to guess how many bags that it will take me to move my entire collection without going over, this is Price is Right rules, so you can't go over. But the closest person to figure that out without going over is going to win a fabulous prize package. I will have more details on that in my socials, Instagram and Twitter very shortly. So please make sure that you follow them to make sure you get in on this one. Some great prizes in store for this contest and some games I absolutely love. So make sure you watch those socials, you get in on this contest, and good luck. And we'll see how many bags it actually takes me to move this entire collection. Despite all these bags kind of holding quite a bit, it has already been quite a few bags that I've gone through. So, and then the other thing that I did want to update everybody on is, I didn't know how much to say about this at first, and I am going to be a little bit more reserved about this topic. But I will need to take a break for a little bit, as I will be going in for a major surgery. It's nothing bad. It's something that's been very necessary and needed, and it's something that I've been planning for almost a year at this point, and it's finally here. That said, when I figured out how I wanted to handle about 2 months of not being able to record, as I recover, I felt an obligation to make sure that you were still getting the content that I've been providing every 2 weeks like normal. So therefore, starting with episode 60, that is airing March 14th, which is the day that I go in for surgery. So as you listen to that, I will probably be on the operating table if you're listening that day. The show will be sounding a little bit different than normal for a few episodes while I recover, but I'm doing some pre-records with some guests. These are some wonderful guests that I love chatting with. I'm sure you're going to love hearing from them as well. One of them I already have in the can, and it is a wonderful, and I keep saying wonderful, but it really is. It's the best word to describe it, content that we've recorded together. And I don't want to spoil it. I'm going to keep it a surprise. I'm going to keep everybody kind of a surprise until that day. Just because I want that aspect. I want that aspect of surprise and, looking forward to the next episode and not, I don't want to announce that ahead of time just because it just would kind of miss something in there. So they also won't have that Shelf of Shame content as, obviously it's a pre-record. So I will update you on that once I get back in front of the microphone And I will be likely back with new shows starting in the middle of May. That's what I'm planning now, when I'm recovered a little bit. I do want to thank you for your patience. I hope you'll enjoy the pre-records. This is like a super major thing for me. And again, nothing bad. Something that has been very, very necessary, and finally taking the time to do it for myself. So that said, I think I'm going to close the show. Again, this is a short episode. Just wanted to give you an update. Things have been crazy, trying to move, pack, trying to get things into boxes and ready to go for when the moving van gets here, because we're going to have to hit the ground running. Don't have a lot of time to get out of here and get up to the new place and then get settled in before the big day. So if you've liked what you've heard here and you want to check out a little bit more, you can go to the website at cardboardtime.com. The Instagram and Twitter is at cardboard_time. And any questions, suggestions, or ideas for discussion topics, please email cardboardtime@gmail.com. And again, make sure that you stay tuned to that Instagram and Twitter feed for details on that contest, something that you're not going to want to miss. And as always, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you around the table in 2 weeks for another episode of Cardboard Time.